Hello everyone and welcome to my Ky'veza Mythic Guide. What I'll do is I'll go through the raid plan and I'll show you the positioning and where you need to go, and then I'll go through the actual footage and it'll make it all make sense. What I would say on this is that we ran 5 healers and we heroed on pool. Health zones and 2 bops is quite useful here. And also you don't want to run too many melee. It just makes the intermission harder than it needs to be. So yeah, try and keep yourself at a good number of melee, say 5, 6, and go from there. Okay guys, so these are the marks you want out around the room. I'm not going to go through why these marks are here until I go through the initial placement, but these are the marks you want. You want to make sure that they're, you see this little green thing, they're up from there, and they're towards this tip. So if something's charging from here, it would finish here. That's what's important. Okay, so the first time you get, in each phase, that is, there'll be 3 phases. The first time you get the clones, what you want to do is put them on the tips of these triangles, okay? Where the yellow marks are. You do not go on skull, that's where the tank will go. So you get 5 people marked, they go to the tips, okay? Go to the tips. Right. Then what's going to happen is the next set of dashes you get, let's say, we call these diagonal dashes. All right, what's going to happen is where we've placed these marks on the tips, they're going to dash to the people that have been marked. The rule is, and I said, we call it diagonal, but it's 2 marks over from where you're being looked at. So we'd call this blue mark, even though it's slightly off of it. If blue mark is looking at you, you stand on triangle. If orange mark is looking at you, you stand on diamond. Green, star, diamond, cross, okay? And what that will do is that will make sure that anybody that stood in the middle here doesn't get hit. And also for the tanks that will be positioning the boss in a specific way, it will go through the boss. Okay, so that's the first and the second placements. So first placements on the tips, second placements are diagonals. Okay, fine. This is to do with the masks, which is the new mechanic. The boss has to basically get masks removed, so you can see that these are highlighted in red. And essentially on the first phase, you need to remove 3 masks. On the second phase, you need to remove 4 masks. On the third phase, you need to remove all 5. There's a specific way to do this, and you always want to remove 2 on the diagonals. Or 1 in the first phase, it doesn't really matter, but generally it's 2. Okay, so you can see that there's a mask here and a mask here, and by our positioning, it goes through and it goes through, and that would put 2 masks, which would increase the boss's damage by 20% for about 10 seconds, but then it drops off. Okay. All right. So yeah, you don't need to worry about this too much. The next target, when we get our next set of daggers, okay, will be through the middle. But before that, you get another pull in. So after your pull in, the tank will need to take it to orange, because that'll be where the free space is based on where you put your previous marks. So whichever tank is started tanking will then have the boss back by this point, and they need to move to orange to place the portal down. What's important to note is these are really far back. They won't be far back. They'll be like here, 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 here. And this mark is not important to get all the way up here, so melee can't hit. Tanks could put it like here, as long as it's not in this hexagon, and then melee can keep hitting the entire time, okay? So that's really, really good to do. Okay, so that's happened, and we've had all of the Queensbanes and all of that stuff going all over the place, and we've all been pulled everywhere, and then you have another set of dashes to do. These dashes need to go through the middle, okay? So what's very important is, obviously you won't have one here because that was just the tank one, and the tank one disappears. So if you are targeted by this marker here, you need to run and stand behind this marker here. What this ensures is that it will go through the middle, hit the boss, through to the other side, through you, and stand like out here somewhere, right? And then this person would stand behind this clone. If you stand on the clones or in front of the clones, you're going to get 2 stacks of Queensbane, and you're basically going to be dead. Okay, so you need to make sure you're standing behind the opposite clone. All right, they will dash out. Then the other tank would need to move it to star, because you can see here there wasn't one in orange. So this person has taken it up to orange, and then this is the empty space. Okay, so the tank would then move down to here. Again, doesn't need to be all the way out here, can be here. And then the suck will happen. And when the suck happens, essentially everybody's in the middle, you top each other up, and then we go into the next intermission, okay? So to touch on Queensbane for you, whenever you get targeted for putting down a clone or by a dash of a clone, you get Queensbane applied to you. What these people need to do is, let's say you are a green boy, so yours is aiming at you from here to green. You would take the dash and then you'd move out here, and we wouldn't go this far out. We would actually stand on this little tip here. And what that would mean is that your Queensbanes would never go through this middle hexagon. They'll go like here and here and here and here and here and whatever, but they'll never go through this hexagon. So this middle hexagon is always safe. If two of you end up going to the same spot by accident, just put one here and one here. There will be no Queensbanes going straight forward if you follow that rule, okay? So should be absolutely fine to stand here and double stack people, just one there, one behind. Not a problem. Okay, so just starting off straight away, you can see everybody gets their tips. Okay, we've got 2 bops on players, and what that means is they're not going to get the Queensbane debuff applied and they come straight into the middle. The other 3 people have to go out and deal with the Queensbane like you saw in the last image just gone. I've moved the boss out, or sorry, the other tank's moved the boss out, and we're all in the center in the middle hexagon, and we are safe from any balls that come out. Nice and easy. Okay, so you can see here, these 2 ads. This is a new mechanic called death masks. You can see one is red, one is not red. What the tank needs to do is get rid of all 3 of these death marks. And the way that we do that is by putting the dashes through the boss. Okay. So what's important to note here is we just want one of these masks to go through the boss at this point. It doesn't matter. So you pause it here. You can see where all of the lines are going. You can see how the middle is safe. You can see how this red mark at the top left is going through the boss. And that's all we need for there. You can then see the boss gets a debuff for 13 seconds. That is, the mask has successfully gone through the boss. Okay. You can then see that the people get out and that middle bit is absolutely safe. All right. And what you can see me doing here is making sure that that rift is spawning on where the orange mark would be, or near the orange mark would be. So we're pulled in an even manner. Okay. So just some quick footage to show you what happens when you get a mark at the start. You put it on the tip, nice and easy. Honestly, nothing to be concerned about here. And then you need to make sure that you are moving out with Queensbane. So out they go. You can see when Queensbane is going to go off, you get the arrows. There you go. Definitely not going through the center. Gets pulled in. Nice and safe. So just to show you what a diagonal looks like. So marks come in. It's on our player. They go to blue because it's 2 over from star. You can see here there's a big red arrow. That's how you know which one is yours. And you face it diagonally and it goes through. And then you, as normal with Queensbane, you don't go back into melee. You just get out. You face on this little square thing. And then back in when you know you're safe. Nice and easy. Okay, so through the middle, okay? You basically, it's best to see from my perspective here, you do not want to be in the middle hexagon. You want to get to where those green ticks are, and you do not want to be where those red crosses are. You can see I've got 2 masks that I've highlighted that go through the middle. And what that'll do is you can see they go, that gives the boss 2 stacks, 20% increased damage for 13 seconds. You never want to hit 3 stacks of that debuff until you get to the very, very, very last bit, okay? This is the fight. You rinse and repeat this, and you do the intermission, which I'll go through after this. Essentially, you just dodge lines. You do not get hit by lines no matter what, and you stay in the middle hexagon to keep yourself safe. If you need to back off from the boss, you back off from the boss. Okay, but you just keep yourself safe. I'll go through the raid plan for the intermission now. Okay, so this is something you'll want to do with your raid group. I'll make this raid plan available. You'll be able to edit it for your people. So essentially, what we did is we doubled up the tanks on number 1, as you can see where it is, and we doubled up some melee. This is because we ran probably too many melee, and I wouldn't suggest running this many melee. We found that actually making the Holy Paladin stand out didn't really work for us, so we doubled up melee and let the Holy Paladin hit. Yeah, and then because obviously we had some gaps around the outside, it was a bit easier for range, but I would say that essentially bringing more ranged here is better. So yeah, anyway, you can see that we have a set location for each person in the intermission, and you need to make sure that you are going to your location and you are spread nicely so you don't mess anybody around, okay? If you don't go to your position or you're, trolling a bit, then you can just make it harder for people. So here, make sure you go to your position and you're disciplined when you're there. Okay, so it's easier for me to just show my point of view here because I'm basically playing as a ranged and melee. So as a tank, you can sort of be a little bit more liberal, and you can make sure that if you need to tank a zone for a DPS to make sure that they're okay, just do it. But you can see how we're all giving each other room, and we're trying to stay as limited in movement as we can. What I would say is just pick your spot and stay, and people should move. I've moved right out wide there because you know, it's a priest that's behind me, and I don't want them to have to move. They're healing. They want to be moving as limited as possible. But yeah, so essentially in this phase, just play really safe, keep yourself safe, and you'll be fine. One thing to note about this for us is that we symbol of hope for this. So you have your personals back. We try and use health stones or health pots in this phase if you get low. And then on the very, very last blaze, when everybody gets one, that's when we personal. Okay. So the rest of the fight is just rinse and repeat. If you can do phase 1 and the intermission, you can kill the boss. It's that simple. What I would say is there's only one other point where your tank needs to know what they're doing, and it's when you are getting 2 masks in phase 2. You just need to make sure that 2 diagonals go through the boss. Otherwise, you'll get a 3 stack and then you'll probably wipe. So that tank just needs to make sure they do that. Okay. Just one more thing for tanks. Whenever the boss gets buffed, make sure you use a cooldown. And when you're getting the actual mechanic on you, make sure you use a cooldown. As always, a massive thanks to those that helped and to the guild itself. I'll see you in the next one.